There are nights in the NBA where everything feels predictable, and then there are nights like this, nights where the energy shifts before the first whistle, where every injury update shakes the board, where every matchup trend seems to carry a clue, and where one single prop with one single hit rate suddenly becomes the sharpest edge you can find. This isn't the kind of slate where you casually scroll through the lines. This is the kind of slate where numbers start talking, where spreads feel heavier, where absences shape identity, and where the smallest statistical edge becomes the reason someone wins or loses their night. You can feel it the moment you look at Celtics versus Bucks and see the Celtics sitting at -8.5, Giannis officially out, AJ Green sitting there questionable, the Bucks now allowing the 11th most points, and Boston giving up the 3rd least points. Immediately the board tightens, the edges sharpen, and the matchups turn into a puzzle that has to be solved piece by piece, not by guessing but by understanding how these numbers interact with each other. Tonight is not random. Tonight is exactly the kind of slate where the more you understand the numbers, the clearer the picture becomes. Boston walks in with stability, no new significant injuries, and a defensive identity that's already anchored them all year. When a team is giving up the 3rd least points, they force the game to be played on their terms. That becomes even more powerful when the opponent's most dominant force, Giannis, is completely unavailable. Without him, Milwaukee shifts from a two-way threat to a team searching for its offensive rhythm, and that's before you even factor in AJ Green being questionable, which matters way more than people realize. The Bucks giving up the 11th most points adds a completely different layer, because it opens the door for Boston's scorers to dictate tempo early. So when you zoom into the prop market, everything starts lining up in a way that feels intentional. Kevin Porter Jr.'s first quarter assists prop is one of those numbers that jumps off the board before you even look twice. The line is sitting at over 2 assists, and the incredible part is the hit rate. He has hit it in every game this year. Then you go deeper. In the last game without Giannis, he played 12 minutes in the first quarter and still hit that over. That kind of usage is extremely rare, and it matters even more when you realize that the Pistons, who give up the least assists of any team in the league, still couldn't slow him down. When your opponent is statistically the toughest matchup for assist props and you still cash, it tells you everything you need to know. It confirms consistency, opportunity, and trust, 3 things you rarely get together in one prop. And then you move to Jaylen Brown, because this matchup puts him under a spotlight brighter than usual. The Bucks allow the 5th most points, 5th most rebounds, and 5th most assists to the small forward position. That's not a small weakness, that's a profile that screams vulnerability. His points line sits at 30 points, and when a primary scorer gets a top 5 matchup advantage in all 3 categories, it immediately becomes the kind of line you circle. But the trends make it even stronger. His PRA has gone over in 6 of his last 7. His rebounds plus assists line is 12.5, and he's hit that number in 5 of his last 6. Even the alt line at 11.5 has cashed in 8 of the last 10. When a player's matchup advantage lines up perfectly with his trend profile, you're not looking at a gamble, you're looking at a statistically supported expectation. And that's why the lean becomes clear. Celtics -8.5 if AJ Green sits. He's the only variable that can help the Bucks stay competitive, and if he's unavailable, the matchup tilts completely toward Boston. From there the slate shifts to the Clippers versus Rockets, where the Rockets come in as -9.5 favorites and both teams enter without any new significant injuries. The Clippers allowing the 4th most 3 p.m. tells you immediately that spacing matters here. Houston's defense has been elite, especially in the rebounding department, and that combination gives certain props a massive boost. Steven Adams starts with a season average of 9 rebounds, and he has missed his line only 3 times all season. Now match that with the Clippers allowing the 12th most rebounds to centers, and suddenly you're staring at one of the most logical big man rebound plays on the slate. But the first quarter rebound angle is even more interesting. His prop is over 2, he averages 6 minutes in the first quarter, and he has hit that line in every game except opening night. That isn't a fluke, that's literally a built-in pattern of early activity that supports a predictable, repeatable result. The 3-point props bring even more value. Reed Shepherd's over 1.5 threes feels automatic when you realize he has missed it in only 2 home games this year, takes 6 attempts, and is shooting approximately 50% from deep. A player with volume and elite efficiency against a team giving up the 4th most 3 PM creates a matchup that feels tailor-made. Aaron Holiday adds another layer with one of the strongest hit rates of the night. Using the 15-plus minutes filter, he has hit 2+ threes in all but 1 game, an 89% hit rate, on 6 attempts, also shooting approximately 50%. When multiple shooters have efficiency, volume, matchup support, and hit rate stability all lined up, it becomes nearly impossible to ignore the direction of the spread. And that makes the lean extremely direct, Rockets minus 9.5. Then comes Trail Blazers vs Pelicans, a matchup shaped entirely by injuries and defensive issues. The Blazers come in at minus 4.5, but they're missing critical pieces, Drew Holiday out, Donovan Clingan out, and Robert Williams questionable. Losing that much size changes everything about how they defend the interior and how they rebound. The Pelicans are dealing with their own problems, with Zion out and Jordan P. questionable, but their defensive struggles have been obvious. They allow the 3rd most points, and the Blazers allow the 6th most points, which creates one of the clearest scoring environments on the slate. This is where Deni Avdija becomes a focal point. His points prop is over 25 points, he averages 15 FGA over his last 10 games, and he already dropped 32 points on the Pelicans on November 12. That performance wasn't an accident, it was part of an efficient stretch where his confidence and shot selection aligned perfectly. On the Pelicans' side, their rookie center, the one who recently recorded a triple-double, becomes a major factor. In the last meeting with Portland, he went 12-0-18 for 26 points, and with the Blazers missing size again, the matchup becomes a repeatable advantage. Both teams have covered 7 of their last 10, but the home court edge combined with the injury landscape gives the lean direction, Pelicans plus 4.5. Then you reach Nuggets vs Kings, where Denver sits at minus 9.5 but neither team is anywhere near full strength. The Nuggets are missing Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, and Julian Strawther. The Kings are missing Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, and have Dennis Schroeder doubtful. That kind of injury list doesn't just affect rotations, it redefines roles and opportunities. Russell Westbrook becomes one of the most important players on the board. He's expected to play heavy minutes, and his last 2 games against Denver weren't just solid, they were dominant, posting 19 raw and 17 raw, hitting both lines comfortably. Without Sabonis, his usage spikes dramatically, and historically he records a triple-double in approximately 25% of games without him. With the triple-double odds sitting at plus 600, the value jumps off the page. Peyton Watson brings another edge with a rebounds plus assists hit rate of 90%. He already cashed this line earlier against the Kings. His alt line bumped down 1 has a 100% hit rate, and even the rebounds alt line decreased by 1 also sits at 100%. When Denver gets criticized for being in cruise control, numbers like these offer a counterweight, especially considering how little depth Sacramento has available. And that leaves the lean at Nuggets minus 9.5. Of course, the night still carries the emotional leftovers of recent results. The 30-FOR30 parlay loss where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finished with 28 points needed 30 while Luka hit his leg. The unders night where Dylan Brooks cashed his under rebounds, Devin Booker got scratched 15 minutes before tip, and Luke Kornet slipped over his points due to free throws plus extra minutes. These serve as reminders of how unpredictable rotations, usage, and injuries can be, and why identifying stable, trustworthy trends matters even more. Tonight every number tells a story. Boston's -8.5 edge hinging on AJ Green's status. Houston's -9.5 confidence backed by rebounding strength and perimeter weaknesses in the Clippers' defense. Pelicans holding value at +4.5 with both teams weakened but Portland's size issues being more severe. Denver's -9.5 supported by role expansions from Westbrook and Watson. And across the board, props that aren't guesses, they're built directly from hit rates, matchups, and usage patterns that already proved themselves. KPJ's first quarter assists, Adams' rebounds, Shepherd and Holiday's threes, Avdia's scoring line, Westbrook's raw dominance. Every stat you gave, every spread, prop, trend, injury update, and matchup angle, fits into the bigger picture of a slate where everything feels interconnected. That's what makes nights like this special. The puzzle pieces don't just fit, they belong together. And that wraps up tonight's breakdown on Beyond the Box Score. If you want deeper analysis, sharper reads, and the kind of breakdowns that approach the game the way bettors and hoop heads actually see it, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. We break down every angle, every matchup, every night, and we're just getting started.